Morning. I want to follow up with what Casey was saying, and I'm going to give them a huge plug. If you have not done the radio show yet with Casey and Larry, that is something you definitely need to do. It's like she said, I was on my way back from Cleveland, Ohio yesterday, was supposed to come back Monday, got delayed, didn't make it back till yesterday, and I was literally in my truck on the speaker talking to them on the radio going through the mountains of West Virginia. So, but it was great. They talked me all the way through it, and it worked out just great. So if you haven't done that yet, I really encourage you to give it them to do that. Also, she talked about us being fierce. Let's not be really fierce today, especially when it comes to posing questions to the speaker. This would probably be a great day to be real nice about that. My name is Ronk. I am the owner of Ronk Security Solutions. We are a limited liability corporation. And what we do, we are very different. We moved down to Columbia in January. And what we do is we do active shooter training. We don't do it for police. If you carry a gun, I will help you and train you, but you don't really have my interest. My interest is people just like you, students that go to school. I want the person who goes to work, goes to school, goes somewhere that doesn't carry a firearm with them. Okay? My son is actually a law enforcement officer in Northern Virginia, and it's like what I tell him. For you, it's easy. Pull your gun and shoot him. Okay? But when you're not carrying a gun, it's not that easy. So we focus on schools, students that go to schools, or at universities, secondary schools, things like that. Actual employees that work, like I say, go into their place of work, they sit in a cubicle, they sit in an office, they don't carry a firearm with them. What can they do if an active shooter shows up in their place? We also work with churches, houses of worship, kind of the same thing. I am a retired Marine. I did 20 years in the Marine Corps. I was a scout sniper and small arms weapons instructor while I was in the Marine Corps. And I retired from that and immediately went back to work for the Department of Defense as a civilian. Did that for about 16 years. And part of my job, well, actually my primary job with the Department of Defense was I was an anti-terrorism officer. But back in 2010, the Department of Defense decided that they wanted to create an active shooter program for the military. So they gave that to me. I did that for the Marine Corps. I designed the Marine Corps' active shooter program that they use. And I ran the active shooter program for the National Capital Region. And it got to the point that I was doing this, and I really enjoyed doing it. So I would go home and I would do some research on active shooter incidents that happened and things like that. And what I was finding out was that, yeah, there were people out there doing this, but almost all of them were trying to focus on federal government contracts. There wasn't hardly anybody doing it for the private sector. So I looked at myself and said, okay, this needs to change. These are the people that actually need help. Because if you actually go back and let's look at statistics, during a 10-year period, only twice did it happen on a Department of Defense facility. All the other times was in a private sector. So the people that needed the most help weren't getting it. So that was why I decided then, about a year and a half ago, that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I needed to go out, help them. I resigned from my position with the Department of Defense, talked to my two boys, they're adult, and said, I want to do this, and they said, go for it, Dad. So I did, and I created Ronk Security Solutions. I worked on it, tried to build the company for the first year or so. I was still working with the federal government, and then in January, I just resigned from that position, said I'm doing it, moved down here to Columbia, did some research, knew there wasn't that many people down here, but I won't lie to you, my main reason coming down here was Lake Murray. I enjoyed the bass fishing, so that was what drew me here, was the fishing first and foremost. And so we did that. We're now into it full time. We are a pretty small company. It's just me as an employee. I have an office manager, and then my son, who is in Virginia. I kept my business license in Virginia, so he serves as my general manager and kind of does a lot of the business that we do in Virginia, so I don't have to drive back there too much. And we are trying to focus on, like I say, churches, houses of worship, businesses, corporations, schools. If you have employees, or if you are an employee, or you're a student, you will benefit from what we do. And the biggest thing that I'm trying to get out there is, the one thing that I encounter the most from people is, oh, it won't happen here. Okay? Yes, it does. It happens everywhere. It doesn't only happen in the country. It doesn't only happen in inner city. It happens everywhere. So if you fall into any of those categories, you really need to talk to us, and you need to deal with our government. In addition to just the active shooter, we also do security-related things. We will run security plans for all the people that we talked about. We will come in and do a facility assessment of your facility. We don't come in, I don't really like to go into a place and just say, okay, if you spend $1.5 million, you can have all this great stuff and it's going to make you secure. I try to do it more realistic. One of the things that I actually like to talk about the most is somebody will say, well, how can I keep them from opening this door? And I'll tell them to go to Lowe's or Home Depot, pay $2 and buy a doorstop. Because you use it to hold your office door open with, so what does it do if you put it in from the inside? It holds your office door closed. And you get it for $2. Okay, so those are the kind of things that I really like to concentrate on with people, because you can get most anybody that just can come in and say, oh yeah, you need this 100-camera system that costs $1.5 million, and that's what you need to put in your building, and that's really not what it's about. Because you're dealing with small businesses, and even if you're dealing with large corporations, they don't always have that kind of money to spend. And I don't want this to be only the people with a lot of money are the ones that can be safe when they go to work. My goal is to make everybody safe when they're going to work or going to school, no matter what you have.
Fantastic. Give him a hand.